I've been chasing ghosts since I was a kid. I like to examine them from a historical angle rather than simply speculate, researching the history of the haunting and the history of the site, or the person/family, and then trying to unravel the story behind the haunting. Sometimes this reveals a hoax. In fact, I have more hoax stories than I do genuine ghost stories. Sometimes it reveals a hidden truth lurking in the bones and roots of a property, or in the heart of the person who seems most affected by the haunting. I'll share a bunch of my experiences and stories here, but not this time. This time I wanted to tell you about the most amazing of my stories, and it has nothing to do with ghosts. This is the story of my first encounter with extraterrestrial life, and the event that convinced me, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that alien life not only exists, but is visiting this planet of ours. I have no idea why, I just know that it is. I was 26 and traveling in Peru, staying with a Peruvian family and teaching locals English. I was staying with a cool guy named Naz, who was actually the son of the family whose home I was living in. Naz was, and still is, a keen mountaineer, and liked nothing better than to head out in his rusty pickup, drive into the mountains, and spend a few days climbing, trekking, and generally exploring. I'd never climbed, but Naz's love for the sport was infectious, and as I loved to camp and to travel and explore, I agreed one day to go with him. We went on a number of trips, Naz and I, and it was great fun. The events of this story occurred as we were approaching an area which Naz told me, before we even set off, is surrounded by lots of superstition and ghost stories. Naturally, given my love for such things, I was really keen to go there. Naz told me that the locals believe one of the mountains contains the ruins of an ancient ziggurat of the kind that can be found all over Peru. They claimed this vast pyramid was the home to a race of ancient gods who, even today, came and went in their chariots of the sky, flying into secret doors in the side of the mountain in gleaming silver ships. I was less interested in these stories than in those surrounding the El Chupacabra, a name I'm sure you've heard before and a creature who really requires no introduction. The Chupacabra was supposed to be highly active in the area we were heading to, and had been sighted both at night and by day. It was blamed for numerous livestock deaths in the mountains, and Naz told me locals were absolutely terrified of it. I'd always thought of the legend of Chupacabra as a fascinating but probably fictional story, paranormal in origin and therefore of great interest to me, but the people of the place where we were heading were living in genuine fear of the thing, and that made me sit up and take notice. I was excited one day of the trip, but didn't honestly expect to see anything. Naz told me he had camped in that area before now and seen inexplicable lights in the sky, and so my interest was definitely piqued, and I was hopeful I would see something. But I never imagined for a second we would see anything near as mind-blowing as we did. I think, in fact, that this is my favorite brush with the paranormal, precisely because it was not one I had deliberately sought out or been asked to investigate. It was purely chance. Anyone could have seen what Naz and I saw that day, but it just so happened to be me, and for that I've always been infinitely grateful. To who, I don't know. I'm just grateful. We were driving along a mountain road, the radio blasting out our favorite music and our windows down. The mountain Naz identified as being the fabled ziggurat under the hills was visible on the horizon. I had to admit, it did look unnaturally triangular, with terraced edges that were similar to the ziggurat ruins I'd visited in Peru, with Naz, in my capacity as a wide-eyed tourist. I would have loved to investigate more closely, and Naz promised that we would, at some point during our trip there. We were approaching a sharp bend in the narrow road, close now to the town Naz had told me was being terrorized by El Chupacabra, when Naz suddenly became excited and started pointing into the sky above the mountaintops, jabbing his finger and bouncing in his seat. He was driving, so this was somewhat disconcerting. I followed his pointing finger and saw something silvery in the sky. Quick as a flash, I took out my camera and snapped a picture of it. It was moving at incredible speed, and I was using a shittier camera than you can get these days. No smartphones back then. Nevertheless, I managed to get a good picture. It zigzagged wildly through the sky above the mountain, then suddenly zipped forwards so that it became much larger, and I realized that it was because it had come closer. It stopped dead, hovering above the nearest treetop, and Naz stopped the car so we could watch, and I could take more pictures. In this picture, the UFO is hovering above the closest mountain to us. It was silvery like chrome and spinning rapidly in a clockwise direction relative to us, reflecting the mountain beneath it in its underside as perfectly as if it was a mirror. Slowly, the orb started to descend, landing in the dense undergrowth and brush on top of the mountain. At an estimate, I'd say it was a good 20 to 25 feet top to bottom. Suddenly, the radio died and the engine cut out. Naz turned the ignition and restarted the engine, but it died immediately. Both of us felt a strange buzzing sensation. The atmosphere in the car was electrified, and whatever surface you touched, you could feel a fur of static, like you could feel on the surface of a TV when it's been on for a while. With this strange feeling came the sense of something intrusive and not altogether friendly, but it was there and it was a horrible feeling. Naz started to panic and restarted the engine, but again it died. I tried to get him to calm down, but he wouldn't and was now pumping the accelerator while turning the ignition. I was terrified he'd flood the engine and we'd be stranded, but then the engine roared and Naz floored it before the starter motor could fail again. We were back on the road and my eyes were back on the UFO, now nestling on the top of the mountain. Now that the strange feeling, the static, and that weird sense of being examined had passed, I realized how much of an opportunity I was wasting and got my camera ready again. "Slow down, Naz," I begged, but he was really spooked and wanted to get to town. Something about his nerves jangled my own, but I also wanted to get some pictures. I snapped one off, but my hand was shaking so much it came out as a blurry mess. Nothing to see. Then Naz started to slow the car. "Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. What is it?" I asked, and Naz pointed through the windscreen, reducing speed drastically. There was some kind of lay-by up ahead and a broken-down old building. The kind of thing you see by the road from time to time and wonder what purpose it serves. But the building wasn't what caught Naz's attention, nor was it the first thing I noticed. There was something there next to the building, a creature, pale in color and something like a cross between a squat kangaroo and some kind of miniature dinosaur. It was standing next to the end of the building and peering in over the windowsill of a window. I took a picture, even as Naz was slowing the car almost to a stop. It's a good picture and I've sharpened it in hope of revealing a bit more detail. Note the UFO now nestled on the mountaintop is also visible in the picture. I've circled it in red. Suddenly, the radio came back on. We'd been blasting out music, so it came on loud and startled us out of our skin. The creature turned its head sharply to look our way and saw us for the first time. Its eyes met mine, and I can honestly say that if I have ever been in any danger of soiling myself involuntarily, this was the moment I came closest. Naz screamed and slammed his foot on the accelerator again. We burned rubber, and I fumbled to get my camera. "There's another one on the fucking roof!" Naz exclaimed as we raced past the building, and I saw it and snapped off a picture. Both the creatures watched us with a kind of detached fascination as we roared past, our music blaring. The creature I have since decided was closest in appearance to the chupacabra was classic in every sense. It had that kangaroo upright appearance with a face and head similar to a small pony or maybe a dog, a bull terrier. But it wasn't a dog. Its hind legs were long and muscular, while its forelimbs were ridiculously short like a T-Rex. The back of its skull flared outward into a hood like a cobra, and its eyes were malevolent. The thing on the roof, by comparison, matched pretty much every description I've ever had of an alien gray. It had a large, ovoid head with huge eyes and a tiny mouth. I saw no nose or ears. Its body was spindly and the whole thing was pale in color. As we drove away from the scene, Naz was about to stop. I leaned back and took a parting shot of the thing on the roof. It was leaping up on its hind legs and flinging its arms around. In my head, I could hear a strange kind of bleeding sound and the buzzing, a static feeling surrounding my camera. But I held on and took the last picture. When we got to town, Naz was in shock. His lips were white and he was trembling so badly the locals took him to the local tavern and gave him sour pisco, Peru's national drink, until the color started returning to his face. They knew exactly what he had seen. They knew exactly what he had seen when I described it. The gods from the mountain had blessed us with their presence. We canceled our trip into the mountains. I don't think Naz was ever quite the same afterwards. We took a different route home, and after that, I don't remember Naz going on any more excursions. At least, not in that part of Peru. For my own part, I couldn't wait to get the pictures developed and have never forgotten the experience. The pictures occupy pride of place in my photo album of the bizarre and the paranormal, and the story is one I never tire of retelling. It had a large, ovoid head with huge eyes and a tiny mouth. I saw no noise. 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 No nose. I saw no noise. Noise. I saw no nose. Nose. I saw no no. I saw no. I saw no no. I saw no no nose. Nose. It's nose. I saw no noise. I saw no no. I saw no noise. Noise. Son of a bitch. Why can't I say that? I saw no nose. Thank you.